Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Get More podcast, where we help you feel inspired, stay motivated, and keep growing spiritually, mentally, and physically. I'm one of your hosts, Travis Hurd, with my guy.
You already know, Jeff Abel, Get More podcast, episode 2. Feeling good,
bro. Dang,
Second
man.
week consistent.
Second week consistent.
We're here.
I think maybe episode 60, we do something on consistency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 2 is only. But even so, even though it's only 2, it's still more than 1 in a sense. You know what I mean?
Well,
I know it's
and I'm glad you say that because I was watching the podcast over and we were talking about comfort. We were talking about how we were comfortable and we don't have that push or that fire, that drive to make us do something because we're comfortable, opposed to looking at somebody else who's back is against the wall. Yeah. And I was listening to it and I was thinking about it and I was like, yo, honestly, we don't really have it as comfortable as we think we do. I think we're putting light on it, and actually it made me think, because I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, listen, I know my life right now. If I stop, if I just don't do anything, yo, things are gonna crumble. Thank God, listen, I'm married, so I have a better half. She's my better half, but we're able to support this. We're in a house, you got bills, just had a baby. That's a lot of money going out there. We're pursuing this podcast. I work a 9-to-5 landscaping business.
You have a lot of you have responsibility for sure.
If your back's not against the wall, our backs are actually against the wall. Think about you, bro. You work 6 days a week. You get up early every day. You're disciplined with your workouts. You got things going on. You're growing your brand. You're working. You're in the process of we're doing this, and then also building your own business. Be honest with you, we're really in a very uncomfortable situation.
So it's not like comfort, put your feet up comfortable. It's we comfort, but still you're bringing light to the fact that we still have a lot of responsibility, that's so true.
Because I was listening to it and I was thinking, I heard we were saying we have a roof over our head, and I'm like, yo, we pay for the roof over our head. Ain't nobody paying for it, electric, water, insurance, everything you got going on in a house. We're doing that. So it makes at the time it went with what we were talking about, but now when I think about it, I'm like, yo, our backs are actually really against the wall.
It's true.
If you this is hence why we're doing this podcast in the first place, right?
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I thought about that all week, bro. I was like, yo, I'm definitely going to talk to Jeff about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we definitely, as we're older now with more responsibility, we don't have it to where comfort to where we could just stop and people are just going to pay our bills and shit for sure.
No,
we have responsibility.
Granted, yes, we did grow up in comfortable situations. We had supporting families, loving families. We weren't out on the streets and things like that. So that's definitely a comfort level. But after we passed that threshold, it was all right, man. You're a man. Do your thing. Start your life. Support your life. If you have habits, support your habits. That's just what it is.
For sure. And I think it's easy, to kind of bring us to what we were about to talk about, vision today on this episode was having that vision, with having those responsibilities and those bills and the, and expenses and responsibilities as you're a father and a husband. It's having that vision is important to kind of keep that fire lit, I'd say, right?
Man, I think you kind of started it off, bro. You just started it off, because I think that's the point, bro. But that's very true, and you all of a sudden have this fire happen to you because you first have the vision, the spark of motivation, that gives you that fire. But then that kind of leads into what we're talking about, is that first step of that vision is creating the vision. Yeah. Actually having the blueprint of what you're going to do. And that's going to keep you fired up, because you're going to have checkpoints, you're going to have deadlines, you're going to have things upcoming, things you got to cross off the list, new things you have to add to the vision because you passed the threshold. Yeah. So I think that's very important, because that fire is really going to, you have to keep the flame lit. Mm-hmm. The wind, you ever see they blow the wind on the fire? The wind on the fire is you discipline.
When when it comes to vision, you feel you have a clear vision about what you want and shit?
Yeah, long term, short term, and honestly, I call it middle term. It's just because the middle part of the vision is a lot of the short term things that have to happen to make the long term things possible.
Do you feel there was this time in your life, because I feel for me there definitely was, and I would argue that probably a lot of people go through that, but there was probably a gap in your life where you were just like had no clue.
Yeah,
you know,
1000%, bro.
Like, what is that vision? Like, what does your, you know, like how I touched on the last episode was like trying to figure out what you really want, like, you know, or who you want to be, and what your future looks like for yourself or family, whatever that entails. You know what I mean? Like, so did you go through a period of time?
Definitely,
where, you know,
definitely. I think everybody
in college probably when you were playing sports and shit like that.
You nailed it, bro. Yeah. Like, I think everybody, you got to go through something like that to all of a sudden even have the idea to spark the vision. Because when you go out of options, like say you had all your eggs in one basket, you know, tragedy happens, something happens to shift you off your game. Now all of a sudden you have time to think and you have time to plan that vision. And yeah, definitely. I was playing football, Missouri Southern, my senior year, tore my ACL, my left and right meniscus on, you know, one of the first kickoffs of the game. I played a little more, but tore my leg up, so I was out for the year. And my dad, when they came in, actually, I don't even think he came and visited. I didn't see my dad. I had talked to my dad. Yeah. And I said, yeah, honestly, man, I truly believe God gave me a pause on life, because if it didn't happen then, it definitely needed to happen. You know, like, I needed the pause in life because I really wasn't focused on my degree when I was finishing. I would just pass classes so I could keep playing. Like, you need to maintain a 2.5 average if you're playing sports. So let's just pass classes, you know, like, not really focused on like business marketing. It was so different then too. Like, business marketing meant you were going into an office working on the marketing team. It was pre all this crazy social media stuff where you can go get a job at home doing business marketing. It wasn't like
especially because you were playing too, right? Like, you were like, didn't you start or like you got so it's not like you were like just passed to like just be on the team. Like,
no,
you probably weren't focused at all. Like,
no,
you know,
bro.
Just playing.
I was truly trying to go to the league.
Yeah,
really, like, that was my goal. Like, I was like, all right, go to the league, spend
all this
time
dude.
playing
like,
football. You know, like, that's the ultimate goal. Play somewhere, play European, play NFL.
Sometimes
something.
I forget, like, us being friends. Like, sometimes I forget like certain things about you, like. You know, like when we weren't kicking it.
Likewise.
Like, you were trying to go to the NFL. That's pretty nuts. Like,
yeah, man. Like, yeah, bro. But back to what we were saying is, like, that's where you all of a sudden, that's when you get to take the opportunity. Like, not everybody's going to have something happen. Like, most people get real depressed. To be honest with you, bro, I wasn't even really depressed when I messed my leg up. I was like, all right, like.
What next kind of thing?
I kind of didn't really like practice. I practice hard. Like, I you know, if you're playing a sport, go all in. I was all in, but I really looked at it down the line, because when you play college sports, you start to see the differences between, like, you just playing high school and you playing middle school ball. When you get to college, it's like you got film. Your day in life is consumed by sports. You're there early in the summer. You're there late before games practicing. If you start, you're definitely way more invested. Like, there's so much preparation. You need to know all the plays. We did all hand signals. So, you know, you'd be like, you know, right, you know, motion left, and like rodeo toss right.
And it's like if you don't really care.
And we did hurry up offense. So you're standing there, plays over. Within 4 seconds, the play comes in. You need to know. Yeah. So that's one thing, like how me and DJ started, because we knew the plays. Yeah. We were fully invested. Like, even though we did, you know, we definitely, you know, were college kids and didn't take it serious in certain times, but it's just a life lesson to know. If you're going to go to the next level, say NFL, I knew, yo, if you think this is a lot of film and a lot of preparation and a lot of practice, you got another thing coming going to the NFL. So
sure.
If you don't like those things, you maybe want to second guess playing professional.
Do you feel like you were just kind of like sticking with it because you happened to just be good?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was like
almost like you didn't, you know, like you know what I'm trying to say?
I did really like it, bro. Like, I did really like it, but I knew, like, it was more like, yo, like, I'm going to college. I got myself a scholarship, so like now it's time. Like, thank God my family didn't need like they could obviously use help, but like my dad, my mom, they both work jobs. They both have businesses. They're both good, you know, like they're fine.
Yeah.
But I thought about it in the sense of like life. Like, heck yeah, bro, you play NFL ball, you get a lot of money. You know, you could, you know, all of a sudden do all these other things, but I literally only thought of football, bro. Talk about vision. My vision was only football. It was like horses and blinders. It was just football, practice, run, eat, lift.
Which, I mean, which really isn't a bad thing. Like, that's not like a bad thing unless you were like not trying to do it. But like, if to be, I think it's cool that you were able to experience being that locked in on something.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people could say that, like, you know what that they or know what that ultra focus is like.
Totally.
You know, some people are just like they just have no idea, and it's tough. I can relate, dude. Like some people just have no vision or like idea of what they want, and I could completely relate. You know.
Well, of course, like you're saying that now, but like first thing I thought about was when you was playing in the band.
Yeah.
Think about that, and like, yo, this dude played. This is a reggae man. You should do some reggae stuff for them right now.
I can't
just give a little blast out, like what you did. just do it. He has to do it, bro.
What, like a chant?
Yes,
like,
yes, bro.
I don't even have one right now.
Do one about like come to the Get More podcast. Get more.
Come to the Get More podcast. Yeah. No, I wasn't singing like that, but we were playing.
Yes.
We were playing straight up reggae music.
Yo, dude,
sure.
This dude opened for the Wailers, which was Bob Marley's band, at Toad's Place. If you're from New Haven, Toad's Place is like a very historical place where a lot of artists and music went through there, and it's it's pretty. That was a huge milestone. Yeah. How old were you when you did that?
Dude, we were like. First of all, shout out Live Now. That was the name of the band.
Yes.
We played, dude. I was lucky enough to like. From a young age, dude, like, literally, I was over at my boy Mike's house, like, in his studio, that his dad had above the garage playing drums and shit in 4th grade, dude.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky enough to where it was just, at a super young age, like, I just found somebody that, like, also played guitar and had rhythm, and we were able to link up with some other kids, one of my boys, Rocco, in middle school, like, and we just played music. It was awesome and like kind of strange at the same time. Like imagine like young middle school kids, like kids were like playing sports or like we'd get off the bus and go play music. Like you know what I mean?
No, listen, I think it's very different because like music is like, I did that with sports. But you have like a coach, you have practice, you have mandatory, you have discipline, you like lose out on things. You guys truly were your own discipline, your own everything,
that is true.
Your own coach. Your own, like, everything, bro. Like,
it is kind of nuts to think about it in that sense. Like, we literally practiced. We took it so seriously. So honestly, you had to, like, be hurt or somebody had to, like, die.
Yeah.
For you to, no, seriously, for you to miss band practice. Like, it was no, and then, I'll never forget, like, I remember, like, for years I'd be like, yeah, Mom, like I'm going to Mike's for band practice, and she never heard us, so she was like, okay, like band practice, cool, whatever. She thought it was kind of like a joke, And then I'll never forget the first time she heard us play out, and she was like, basically like, holy shit, like
shocked.
You really were going to band practice, like because we were good, yeah. So, but we were disciplined for years, dude. Like every Monday and every Thursday, 6:30 and 9:30, like no matter what, like. We had a show. We rehearsed, like we just over and over and over, and we just and we got good, dude. And social media, like Facebook and social media was like no Instagram. It was just like MySpace and Facebook. It was like just the thing as we were stopping. So we were in our prime, dude. At like
you barely had
18,
cameras.
19, 20. We were like nasty. I hate to even sound like that, but we were nasty.
Bro,
like,
listen. I second that.
We were nasty. We opened up for
nasty.
Badfish, like the Sublime cover band. Like we definitely could have like
nasty.
Done something for sure.
I know, but things change. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
so at one point, I could say honestly, dude, like when thinking back at it as a young kid, like we wanted to be famous. Like we looked up to like 311 and like a bunch of like bands that were like, and we really were like. I never thought about like college or anything like that because no joke. At one point, I was like, dude, we're good. Like this is it. We're doing this. Like we're opening up for people. Local restaurants around New Haven and Brantford are like calling us to play. Donovan, we were like the first band to play at Donovan's Reef on that stage. SBC, Humphreys, Toads, like some place. Like dude, we were locked in. We would have a bunch of people like the whole town almost like coming to see us and shit. It was cool.
I remember it. Yeah. I remember it briefly with like I just remember like Tito and like them talking about you guys.
Yeah,
like,
dude, they were fans of us.
Dude.
Yeah, it was cool.
Like I remember that. Shout out to Tito Rentes. So I actually saw Spencer Rentes at the festival at our Brantford festival. There's like 3 kids. I said, dang man. He's like, yo, we got another one. I'm like, yo, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
His family.
So it's funny how so your vision does change. Life happens, and just like kids got girlfriends, and things just kind of life happens. Like it's we didn't have. I would imagine if we had the same drive now with like Instagram and this and that, like
it may be different.
Streaming and all that, like it might be different, but
it's interesting to think like that because now,
dude, I'm sorry to cut you off. I gotta pee, dude. I'm sorry. Damn, I'm real sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to
We'll
interrupt.
just keep it rolling right now. I'll actually look and make sure we're all rolling. Pee break, man. Pee break. Yeah, we're 15 minutes in. Yep, 15 minutes in. You're recording. I'm recording. Yep, we're good.
How's it look, alright?
Oh yeah, it's good, man. We're like probably 17 minutes in, do like another maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll be back. We'll be done.
So I had a damn, my legs are sore, dude. Damn.
After crossing them, it gets like a little numb. I don't know. My leg gets.
Well, no. Plus today, like I had like I worked out today. Yeah. I just had something to say too. So, what would you say to somebody out there? What do you think you would say to somebody who like is just like, dude, like I had no idea? Because I know you've been there, I've been there. Like doesn't have a clue, like.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's getting older and it's kind of, when you're younger you can get away with it, like.
Yeah.
You can get away with like not really knowing what you want to do or having an idea of who you want to be. But like, what do you think would be like? If a younger kid came to you and said, or like even getting older and was like,
"Hey, daughter,
yeah, exactly,
something right now."
She's getting older, and she's like, you know what? Like, I don't know. Like, I tried this, I tried that. I don't really know. Like, what would you say?
I would first say, have you spent time by yourself with no distractions, really looking inside yourself, seeing what God has placed inside your heart, which is those passions, those desires, those things that make you smile, that you could do effortlessly, and you could do and want to grow even more. I would first say, like, have you spent that time? Because that's one of the most important parts, and especially now with all the distractions. Like, it's so easy to just come home and get into a repetitive action of doing something and not take the time for yourself to really plan that vision. And that would be the first step of the vision, is plan it. Like, don't just start getting into something. Like, if I were to repeat it and do something, I would really look into the things that I liked and got into and see, like, what can I do with them? Like, thank God you got YouTube now. You can go and look up someone who's your dream person doing your dream profession, and you can see how they do it.
How they did it, how
like,
they got there.
It's amazing, like, you could do that stuff. And I would definitely say, do that, because so many things are going to try to shape you other ways. So take that time, take that authority back from, the way that you've been shaped. I know I was shaped a certain way, bro. I went to school, I saw the professions that people respected, and I tried, every time I kind of did something outside the box, not, like I've seen people laugh, but I know people look at it like, what are you really thinking you're kind of doing here? Like, I would just say, like, focus on you and plan yourself out,
Yeah, true. I hear that, and I agree with that. And I also think that, like, you almost kind of, there are certain people, there's outliers out there who, like, from a young age know what they want to do. And I see it, like, at the salon, like, at work, people will be like, oh, I do this. And they're like, oh, I knew I wanted to do this since I was a kid. There are those people, and that's cool. But I also think it's just time, dude. Getting older, like, trying new things. Like, you just, like, evolve. Like,
you do.
Getting self-aware, or becoming self-aware. And then, like, at least I feel like that's, like, for us, at least, like,
I think that's huge. Like,
you get older, you experience more things, you try new things, and like slowly you kind of start to creep. The vision starts to like creep out. Like, oh my God, all right, like maybe I see myself doing this, or I kind of like this, and so like self-awareness, I think, helps with the vision. The idea of getting a vision for yourself.
No doubt.
Just
So would you say, so if you were starting that self-awareness process, and even though like self-awareness is like all the time, like every day you're kind of practicing on yourself, you're reflecting, you go home, you're seeing how your day went, so you're always like kind of your awareness is regardless growing. Like, you don't get street smarts because you're practicing them, it just happens. You're like, oh, don't do that, So in that process of your self-awareness, where does the planning start for the vision for you? So if you were trying to plan your vision, right, and you were starting, what would be like one of the first things you kind of did?
Well, okay, good question. Because I've been doing this now, recently, at 35. I try to understand, when you talk about self-awareness, the things that I like, the things that I know myself, that things that I enjoy doing, the things that I don't enjoy doing, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and then I try to picture like what would my ideal, if somebody said to me, describe your ideal 24 hours from when you wake up till you go to bed, where would you be, where would you live, who would be what would you be doing during the day, what time would you wake up, what would you eat? What would you look like? Who would your boys be? What would your circle look like? What would you do at this hour? What would you know what I mean? So like
that's like a vision outline.
Yeah, it's
almost.
just like
almost filling the dots right here.
What would your ideal 24 hours be? What would a day look like for you? And when I say you, I'm talking about you, me, a person, everybody. Any person. Like, what would your ideal 24-hour day process look like to where you could do that over and over?
Yeah.
Ideally, with nobody, you know what I mean? So like,
I like
for
that,
me, that's kind of where it starts.
I like that. I think that's a great way to not have someone be so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because that's interesting, bro. I liked how you said that. Like, you're focused on create your picture perfect day, and what you're doing, who you're around, what's your schedule like, all these things.
Yeah,
you don't have to go so detailed. Like, if you said like I'm going to be a lawyer. Okay, you're going to be a lawyer working where? In New York City, and what time do you want to work? When do you want to get off? What kind of clients do you want? Like, all those types of things. Like, to pick that gem up, because that's a great way to start without getting so overwhelmed, because it could definitely be overwhelming to plan a vision, because then your next steps are to where, you create the big vision, the big map plan. I have like a map plan of like all these things I'm going to do. But then in between that is the outline of how to do those things. Like grow successful podcasts.
You have to reverse engineer it. Like, okay.
Yep. And it's funny you say that. I'm thinking of Alex Hormozi. I was watching something he said today, and he said, it's crazy. People say they want to do these things, but they screw off, they procrastinate and stuff like that. They think it's going to take them so much time. They get scared. He goes, I knew I wanted to start this lifting business, this gym business, and I had to create a website. And I was like, I'm a gym guy, I'm not a tech guy, I'm not doing that. He goes, I literally one day got so sick of it and just said, I'm going to freaking take the whole day and do this podcast. He goes, I did it in an hour and I thought it was going to take me all day.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah,
goes, so most time people will go, I'm not trying to cut you off. He goes, so most time people will hold off so much on task. And I think about us with this podcast, 3 years, guys, 3 years it took us to get downstairs and put these cameras out and cross our legs and talk to you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, it took us 3 years to sit here and do this. And it's not that hard, bro.
Yeah, now we're on week 2. Exactly.
It's just not that hard. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, I've seen that. It's like you spend the time that you actually waste avoiding sitting down and learning how to do it. You just sit down and do it, and it takes some time, and now we had a website. It's
bro,
like,
it's disgusting.
And that takes a lot, dude. It's hard to do that. Oh my gosh, like for me, immediately I'm thinking about like the Logic. Like, I literally was like, didn't want to get Logic at first, or like wanted to get it, but was like super anxious about the fact that like I was just like, oh, like I know that like I'm not gonna have Trav at like my beck and call like next to me to show me how to do this shit all the time. I have to learn how to do this.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and like you made that video for me, and I remember like just sitting down on the computer. Like I'm not like a tech savvy dude, like you know what I mean, which is something I need to improve on and definitely change because it's 2024. Like I got it. Yeah, exactly.
You gotta get on it.
So I remember just sitting down at the computer watching that video, like step 1, then step 2, and then you know, and that was like a struggle for me, but then I got it, and then I was like, oh shit, like I got it.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's so funny. I did that the other day because I always think about that because when you were like, yo, I gotta fit, I'm like, yo, honestly, I think it's smart if we just film the process of making a beat. And I think about this to this day. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna put an audiobook out there to show people how to start making beats real quick because it's simple when you get a workflow. And that's like what we're talking about with a vision. Create your workflow for your vision and you'll just achieve over time. And it's nice. I did that the other day, bro. I went to the office. I had to figure out how do we do all these contracts. I told one of my administrators, Heather, and I said, yo, I'm gonna film us this whole session so I don't have to call you and ask questions. Yeah. And I filmed an hour and 30 minutes. I came home the next day and I went through the process. And
that's sick. She probably admired that. She probably thought that was like, okay. She probably was like, okay.
I asked her, I said, like, yo, like, are other agents like doing this stuff? Like, how do they figure this out? Like, there's so many processes, bro. Like,
what'd she say?
She was like, no. I was like, well, they must be really smart. She goes, no, they just called me. I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm like, see, I ain't trying to do that, man. I'm not trying to go off a whim. I think one of the biggest things, man, is like, and I'm learning this more, and I knew I would learn this more when I got into real estate, is be prepared for whatever you're doing. Preparation. And if you fail, you'll see, like, I could have been better prepared for that. You know, like, it happens. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to prepare for everything, but prepare yourself enough so that you're confident in what you're doing. And then if you do not know something, you can just say, I don't know. And you go home, figure it out, you write a note, and you go home and you figure it out, and you add that now to your repertoire of things that you now know. You know, like, so I like how, you know, that all just kind of sparked from you talking about, like, mapping out your day.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not easy to stick to it. I mean, that's why I was just going to ask you, like, I'm sure you feel like there's times where, like, you'll see it clearly, and then the next day you might just be like, ugh, like, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, my gosh. You know? That's like every other day almost,
dude.
Bro. But I literally think, and I'm like, yo, what is my option? Like, I know time is ticking. All these great ideas, all these things I want to do, like this podcast, bro, the margin for having a successful podcast, we've talked about this, is so slow. People don't get past 20 episodes. 20 episodes, you know, like that's 20 weeks. We're shooting weekly. That's 20 weeks. People can't stay consistent enough to do something more than 20 times. To have one of the most successful things that goes on social media is a podcast, because you're able to show your character, your vision. You're able to keep people hooked for a long time, help them at a very like cheap level of entry. You know, it don't cost a lot to start a podcast.
It's gonna be cool when we get to 21, no joke.
Yeah, bro, it is. Like, we're gonna be doing this, like, honestly, until like the next venture pops up, bro. You know, soon. This is episode 2. Episode 4, we're gonna start doing some guests. We got some crazy guests, bro. Like, we got some real cool guests about to come on this show, bro,
dude,
and like
cool.
have some real nice conversations with you guys and talk about it. I guess, like, yo, we can almost wrap up. I just want to ask you one of the last questions, and I think it helps a lot to close this vision thing off. How do you feel about sharing your vision with other people? Do you think it's detrimental? Do you think it's a good thing to do? How do you feel about that?
I have been guilty of talking and sharing my goals. And
why do you say guilty?
Because, like, I know what it feels like to, like, talk and not act, and it kind of just makes you feel kind of stupid and dumb about it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'll listen to people now, like, and that's why I try not to do it now, because I'll hear people say shit like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then not do it. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you ain't gonna, like,
you gotta do it. Yeah. I know.
Like,
and you can almost.
And I think that because I've been there, dude, and that's why. And it's like, damn, like, I've been there, and I you know what I mean. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it's like I've done it to you, you've done it to me, like we've done it, like, so, I try not to do it because I just don't, straight up, I don't want to look stupid. I feel like I look stupid and fake, like,